Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kent. The channel is EOS San Diego, and of course, I talk about the blockchain every single night, the EOS blockchain. And of course, tonight I'm getting rather late. I think it's 3:30 in the morning, but long day, a lot of stuff going on. But I try to make a video every single night because there's always something happening with EOS, and I never want to miss a day. And today was a very interesting day with a lot of information. I'm going to try to cover some of it tonight. So anyway, first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about this article on News BTC. And what they're talking about here is they're talking about Ethereum, EOS, how the number of dApps and applications are increasing, but the users are not. So in other words, there's not a lot of users on the applications being built. Of course, we can go to dApp Radar and take a look, and you can see that on the EOS blockchain, and I try to go here every single day, you know, you're getting around 9,000, 5,300, 4,000, 3,100. This is the number of users on a 24-hour time. So what really would be nice is if we had some sort of application built on EOS that had mass adoption, which had hundreds of thousands of users. That's what will really propel the blockchain to the next level. So that's what we're really seeking right now. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure going on right now, a lot of governance talk. There's a lot of trying to perfect how people vote and how all that works out. I mean, that's all being developed right now. Infrastructure. And I think we take a lot of that for granted because this is a new project. This is a new idea, and it takes a lot of time to figure some of that stuff out. But as that starts to develop, and why it's developing, these applications will start hopefully growing in usage because there needs to be something here that really pops. And of course, there's getting to be more and more every day, so hopefully one of these will really take off and will make it so there's a mass adoption usage, and that will really get the blockchain rolling. More and more people will start to use it. So anyway, another thing I want to bring out tonight is there was an interesting telegram today. Let me see if I can make it a little bit more here. And it was on the channel, and let me see if I can read this. It was EOS _V2. And of course, the person that started the chat was Aneta, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, EOS Network XX Proxy. She made a nice long post here, and basically what she was doing was she was inviting Brendan Blumer, or Dan Limmer, I guess. What do you think? And she says, Bloom 005 or Dan Limmer, I hope this will help somehow in your governance meeting. Invited him on to actually comment. And I'll try to paraphrase what she said because she made a fairly long post. So what she was saying is she was saying that right now it's very difficult for people that own the token to be able to make a wise decision voting for a block producer. So there's a lot of block producers out there. There's hundreds of block producers. And when you just own the token, it takes a lot of time and effort to research and know who to vote for, as well as being able to know who to vote for, knowing 30 of them to vote for. And I can tell you, honestly, she's correct. I do a video in fact, every night for almost a year now, and I can tell you, I know very little about most of the block producers, what projects they've done, how many tools they've developed. There's a myriad of stuff, and if I don't know that much about different block producers, doing this every day and every night, making a video and doing research on it, and being a block producer ourselves, how's the person who just owns a token know this information? Very difficult to do. As well as the fact that it doesn't have any financial reward to it. Nobody's paying you to research block producers. Nobody's paying you to go out and do due diligence on a block producer and decide what 30 to vote for. In fact, I've even noticed on YouTube channels, some of the YouTubers try to cover block producers, but you know, generally it's just a couple of them, and you know, it really is difficult. It's very, very difficult. I've thought about doing it myself, but it's very difficult, time consuming, and I don't think there's a good metric for being able to be able to rank them and know who's doing what and how it's going. So essentially what happens then is that falls into a proxy or it falls into the hands of an exchange to make that critical vote about block producer. What Aneta is saying here is she's saying maybe we could do it through the applications. Maybe the application could vote for the block producer, where the people that own the token would be able to vote through an application. So if they have an application they really, really like, they really want to support it, they will go ahead and throw their weight behind the application, and the application will go ahead and make the decision on who the block producer is. A very interesting idea. The first time I've heard this idea was tonight, and I thought it was really interesting because I like the idea of focusing on development rather than focusing on rewards and everybody arguing about who's voting for who and who's doing the voting and how concentrated the vote is and all this other stuff. Throw it back to development and let development worry about it. And the developers that are on the blockchain every single day, let them make a decision who block producers should be, because they're the people that are actually doing, in the trenches, working on a block, doing the coding, doing all this other stuff. They know who is the best to run the blockchain, and they know who's running the blockchain the best. So very interesting discussion. I'll put the link to this down below so you can read through it too. But anyway, Brendan did appear on this chat as well as Thomas Cox, and he did make some comments which I thought were very interesting. Basically, that Brendan didn't like the idea, and the reason he doesn't like the idea is it kind of goes against the core fundamental beliefs of EOS, which is give the token holders the power to make these decisions. So Brendan's going, I don't really, and I think, let me see if I can read here what his post is. Any changes here would mean changing the beneficiaries of the network, and I think a change that degree is more appropriate for a few parallel networks. I think the situation is simplifying network engagement, incentivizing it, and rewarding participation. So that goes back to his idea of being able to have block producers giving back some reward for people voting for him. So he's wanting some motivating thing. So what I was saying here, and what Aneta was saying here a little bit earlier, was that there's no financial reward for voters, for token holders, to go research block producers. It takes time. Takes energy. You got to sit here during your day and figure out who's doing what and everything, and then make an intelligent decision. Right now, there's no financial motivation for it, so it's getting defaulted to either a proxy or an exchange because people just aren't really finding the motivation to do it, or they're not finding the financial incentive to do it. And Brendan said, hey, we'll give you financial incentive. We'll let the block producer give back some of the reward and then let them compete for your vote, which is a very market way of doing it. Let them compete for your vote by giving back some of the reward. Not all the reward, but just giving back some of the reward and letting them compete, which is a very interesting, that's the way it is. But anyway, you can read through this. It's a very interesting discussion. I would highly recommend you to read it because it really gives you the intelligence behind what's going on here and how this is all being discussed in an open forum and how EOS is kind of out there for everybody to see, and you're kind of getting an idea of what the direction people want to go. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend people to read through this. But one of the things I think that was interesting is kind of what came from all this discussion was the one vote, one token kind of way of doing it. Right now, if you have one token, you can vote for 30 block producers. Well, if you have one token and you're trying to figure out 30 people to vote for, it's kind of hard to know all 30. Because sometimes, you might know one or two, or you might know 3 or 4, but 30, that's a lot. So you only end up voting for 1 or 2 or anything like that. So that concentrates the vote. There's a lot of give and takes here, and there's a lot of things going back and forth. But anyway, I kind of got the feel from this whole discussion was a lot of people are in favor of one token, one vote. And I think that may be something that's recommended in the future. But Brendan Blumer was on Telegram tonight. He made quite a few posts here tonight. Made some very interesting posts. I would highly recommend people to read this, and I really appreciate Aneta for doing this. She did a really nice job of bringing Brendan on here and getting everybody to talk, and a lot of people joined in. I read through it, and it was very entertaining and very educational for me, and a lot of people that are into understanding the blockchain and trying to make it a little better were involved here tonight. So I'll put the link, I'll put the post. You can go ahead and read it for yourself. But I think there's going to be changes coming. I think there are going to be some changes coming. And I think the idea of incentivizing people to vote is going to have to they're going to have to figure out a way to do that. Because as long as individual token holders have the power to vote and the power over the blockchain, there needs to be some way for them to be incentivized or motivated to do so. And it's not something that's easily done. Because like I say, you have, first of all, it's hard. There's a little bit of a hurdle just to understand the blockchain. And now there's another hurdle now to go through and try to figure out everybody that's running the node and who to vote for, who not to vote for. But a very interesting idea. But I do think that this whole discussion got back to development, which is, I think, a good idea. I think that's kind of where the focus of EOS has always been and always needs to be is on development, because that's what makes the blockchain go, is applications and development. So I thought that was very interesting. I would, if you're really interested in this stuff, it was a very lively discussion and very interesting. And I think you'd enjoy reading through it. So anyway, I'm going to sign off for tonight because I am getting tired. It is getting late. I got my infinity screen going on here. I'll put the link below and you can read through it yourself. I thought it was a very good information and very, very, what would you say, very enlightening to read. So I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.